Thank you, dear Abhignya. That was very warm, very sweet. I don't know how well known I am, but hi to everyone who doesn't know me, and a big, big hi to everyone who I do know, especially Shraddha. I was going to come to that. I'm here because of her warm invitation. And I just want to, say that I've been overwhelmed listening to the kind of poetry that's coming in. Urdu and Hindi may not be my first languages, but we understand it and we get it. And just the passion with which poets speak. That's why I always tell everyone that it's poetry will save the world, really. So, yeah, so congratulations to Ahmedabad Book Club and to Shraddha for holding this fantastic event, yeah. So I'm going to, as Abhignya said, feisty she said, so I'm going to read a poem. I describe myself as a feminist poet. So there was a lot of talk, हमने love की बात की है, we have talked about aspirations and dreams and so on. But sometimes those don't come true. And I write, I feel for women. I feel as to why their dreams don't come true. So I'm going to, read this poem called Women Are Never Hungry. इसको प्लीज लिटरली मत लीजिएगा. It's a satirical poem. So every line has a bite, a twist, because of course we are hungry. पर हमें दिखाना नहीं होता है that we are hungry for some reason. We never are supposed to talk about our appetite as women, right? We also have ambition, but we are not supposed to talk about. We have hunger, but we don't talk about it, right? So this is what it's called. Women are never hungry. And unlike all these fantastic poets, I can't remember, so I'm going to read. Yeah, I hope that's okay. Women are never hungry, you see. Through the artist's eyes, they are but food, noodle-like, long, voluptuous or nubile, and hammed in, always sitting beside, upon, but never at the table. Women are to be consumed. Women are never hungry, as through a system of servitude, they make and make and make food, stirring, chopping, assembling, even on local trains. In a city of equal opportunity, I'm talking about Bombay here, in a city of equal opportunity, as men in the other compartments jostle, women converse, cut, chop, and pack in bags boxed in. They are always between the kitchen and the table. Even when they are placed, they are between plates. They cannot be hungry. Thank you. They cannot be hungry, those who always see food and prepare it so other bellies may be filled. Too much cooking kills the appetite. So does too much waiting to eat. Some have appetite only for praise from their husband's lips and tell of how their bellies fill when they watch their always hungry, never hungry children eat. Women are never hungry if they must compete with strokes etched on the blank white page of heterosexual male rage, so they can fit into clothes made for stretched children, or a little flesh arranged angularly upon jutting bones hanging from hangers, bodies like clothes, carved through the ink of patriarchy as capitalism, lined goods upon paper bone. They may embrace glory in a shining male-dominated imagination if they have shaved like every hair from their body and pulled straight that upon their fiery heads to hide pride or race or intelligence, all traces of hunger from their skin. Gluttony is a sin that doesn't wait for hell to punish women. Women are never hungry, you see, as there are so many empty joys to fill themselves with. If they keep folded and under wraps their needs as they wrap and need. Fat in flesh and in words is what makes a woman threatening. She must not take up space in language or in body. She must be shamed for hunger or lack of it, for her relationship with food, the thing that sustains and enriches across her horizon must remain unevenly distributed, rising only to beset. She may have removed her apron for the belt, But she must give evidence of how it winds and encircles not a stomach but a womb and a hungerless waist. Women are never hungry unless they are pregnant, for then they may finally choose food. They now have a ruse. Another human being, by default a son, is waiting to be born. Thus hunger in woman to feed her invisible daughter, and her unhatched son may finally be born. Without purpose, women's hunger would mean that they possess mouths and tongues that speak for their wants alone. To be hungry is to show evidence of desire, of humanity. And women are hungry, you see, only to feed. Do we have time for one other poem? Yeah. Please let me know if it's.
Yes.
So thank you, Shraddha. So I wrote this for my father. I'm sharing because this seems like a very, as Abhignya said, it's a group very sensitive and so on. I wrote this a few days ago. My mother is here. She's never here for most of my poetry readings and so on. So I'm really happy she's right there. So I'm going to dedicate this to her. Father, whom we lost to COVID. I still haven't understood how to, be okay with that. None of us have. So poetry काम आती है, I write और वो आंसुएं निकलती हैं and so on, and then for some time at least I am okay like that. So relics, आप लोगों को पता होगा, relic का मतलब होता है कोई चीज़ that historically valuable हो जाए, हम जो चीज़ और use नहीं करते हैं, right? So this is called no relics here. Suddenly, a sister who wasn't here through the darkness of your able body disintegrating in a span of 15 days, being dragged out on a sheet by a stretcher of masked men through the light that streamed in by your window after you were burnt, as though to stick out a giant tongue at us in its beauty, mock, opens the doors to your wardrobe. My heart, that thought it was all done with the ripping and the wailing, becomes a kind of dark river that swells and gushes, floods with choking waters, and I thought I had gone and tightly dammed. And I have to suddenly see you again, smell you, like no photograph, feel you in a fleeting moment, as though you could be there before I scream, please close it. And before she catches a glimpse, a whiff of that darkness that scalds, catching herself unawares, a single pull burning her heart, and she shuts the doors tightly, apologizing. We are both only daughters for that moment, naked in our pain, no other identity to forge a gap. We remain stiff, sobbing, silent, as though we came upon a confession we had hidden so well thus far. Which your things, I'm speaking to my father now, which your things, pretending for a split second that your death could be a lie, seem to have let out of the wardrobe, mistakenly ajar. And we do not know if the truth or the pretense of life in things you left behind is worse. What we saw, I will confess before you, was a beautiful man's unused attire, spread across the rod neatly, arranged partly by a loving wife's hands. They hung innocently, too brazen in their afterlife, as though bits of him remain there while we go daily without him. His beloved bush shirts, pink with white flecks, yellow with blue checks, only cotton or linen, threatened to bring him back, not as life. He was all life, that man, but as loss. Their open sleeves like a gaping wound without the arms they clothed. The arms they always had a watch on, the watch now keeping time for no one, ticking over the drawer where he kept loose change in a box to be shared. Does the watch know why it came back from the hospital without the arm? The solid colors, the vertical lines of his cotton lungis, I fear that they still have something of him. In their hidden softness, the face only his family saw, as he sat in them upright and relaxed with a phone or prayer book in hand. The single belt he owned is rolled up, wants to be straightened quickly and wound around his trousers, ensconced in the warmth of speediness, his desire to get to everyone, everything in a snap, a man of work, of action. The belt tightened knowingly, the trousers got a mere glance, folded like palms, praying to be walking all the streets of a home in a city of temples, all the gardens with madhumalati flowers brushing against soft overgrown grass. Sister asks mother for a thing that belonged to him. She keeps the watch. I refuse a relic. Not your spectacles that aided your sunken eyes filled with mirth, not your shirt, time belonged to you, how could it have left you behind? The clothes will keep inside. They will hold your fragrance and keep you in my present. If I don't open the secret that you are indeed gone, they will refuse to be relics. In a daughter's eyes of a life gone, of a time past. So no relics here, just your things arranged. For who knows what you will need if you choose to come back. Thank you so much. And, thank you to this beautiful space for all of you to give room to poetry. It is really the language of the soul and the heart. So, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you.